Good morning, good morning, good morning. This Monday, the 15th. All right. So last class we talked about thumbnail design, um, silhouette value, concept art in general, and the techniques that help you to build stronger silhouettes for your character, which is usually, in layman's terms, the outline of your character. If you look behind me, you can see this picture of Yoda, but if I put the image of Yoda himself entirely in black and I showed it to you, that's essentially what his silhouette would be, right? That the external, the outline of the character, and depending on how strong your silhouette value is, you'll be able to know what character it is just by um, that black outline or that black silhouette in itself. So we looked at different iconic characters that we can tell, like Mickey Mouse. You look at their silhouette, you know exactly who that character is just because of the strong silhouette value. And you guys went ahead and did your own versions of the silhouettes and made your own little drawings and sketches and ideas. So after the lecture, I will definitely look at those as well, give you guys some feedback, some critique, and see where we can go next with it as we facilitate just creating better concept art, being better in general. And it just feels like there's so much I want to get across to you in just such a little time. I don't want to dump, like just too much on you guys at once. So I want to take the approach very, very systematically, kind of methodically, in like a slow burn process, right? It's gonna feel like I'm onboarding you guys very fast, just because it's a lot of PowerPoints, it's a lot of quizzes, it's a lot of extra work, but once you know this information, you can always go back and refer to it, right? That's the idea, is that you can always use this information. You can always come back to the PowerPoints that I give you. You can always come back to the videos that are going to be available to you, and you will always have this resource. And I'm going to put in the resources channel as well. I'm going to add some anatomy, structure stuff, and just to help us, with color palettes and different things like that. So today, that's kind of what we're gonna talk about, right? Is we're gonna talk about color theory, mood painting, those different things like that, and how color really affects the things in the world around us, and how we see color, how the world treats color, and some universal ideas around color and what they mean, and how they invoke mood in us, and the kind of feelings that they strike whenever we look at something, right? Different colors. Red can mean anger, yellow can mean avarice or jealousy, green can mean greed. Blue can be calming, orange can be on alert, purple can be royal, right? The kind of feelings that we get when we look at some of these colors, because of how they've been used over time collectively, what our eyes see versus what our brain transcribes, right? Sometimes it's in nature that helps us. Like, you've even bugs and animals, they color themselves a certain way because of their environment, the things that are around them, right? Think about camouflaging chameleons and how they adapt with color and tone and things like that. So color encompasses so much, and it gives us so much information about the world, the nature of the art we're looking at, the nature, how we should feel about a certain piece of art, right? So that's what we're going to discuss today. I look forward to hearing some of the conversations that we will have more about this in the coming class. All right. So let me share my screen with you guys, and we will begin our conversation on color theory and mood painting. So here I have like the image of a color wheel, just to kind of give you guys the basics, right? Our primary colors, right? RBG, And then we have our complementary, red, blue, and yellow, and then complementary colors. And then we have our tertiary colors. And these colors mixed together, right? They give us different combinations, right? You mix, a little bit of red and blue, you'll get purple, right? Red and yellow, you get orange. Blue and yellow, you get green, right? These are just the basics of color. You guys probably already know this, so this is a little refresher, but you guys know the drill. And if you guys have ever seen the old school color songs, right? But for you guys, right, it goes past those primary colors, right? So we have our hue, saturation, and value, right? If you guys have ever used Photoshop, any kind of color based system, color picker, anything like that, you should know these three values very well. The hue usually refers to the pure color, the red, the blue, and the yellow, right? Those are the basic colors. And with these colors and the combinations, right, we talked about RGB, CMYK, halftone, and Pantones and different things like that a class or two ago. And it's one of those things that everything else derives from these, right? Then we'll talk about saturation, which is the intensity of the color, which is how dull it is, right? Or how vivid, how bright, how much contrast it has, all right? And then value, right? This is the lightness or darkness of a color. So you can have dark forest green, bright green, dark yellow, deep burnt orange, or bright orange, right? So these are the different values in the lightness and the darkness of a color. All right, so when we're looking at the saturation chart, right, you can see that when we go, right, up and down versus left and right, all right, we're usually going to have a grayscale, right, all the way at the edge on the left. You're going to have a grayscale, a gradation from dark to light. And then as it goes over here, the dark usually stays the same, but depending on the color, right, the saturation of the image will be more bright and vibrant. And as you get to this corner, it's pure red, right? And I've talked about this last class and probably the class before, as we don't have any true pure colors on this planet, right? Because of there's a lot of factors, right? Like just the particles in the air, how your eye works, right? And sometimes we don't even perceive color the same, right? But when you're talking about 55500, like on the corners, right? Those are the purest values, and those really rarely exist on the planet. So whenever we paint, I always tell you guys, hey, you don't want to go to the corner, right? You don't want to ever go to the corner whenever you're painting anything. The corners you try to avoid. Even when I do blacks, even when I do try to paint with black, I never go all the way down here, right? I'll never go all the way to the bottom. I go somewhere right here, right? Because everything has value. Everything has a little bit of, it's not truly black. We still haven't created true black on this planet, right? We're getting closer, right? There's some some of the purest colors. Let me see if I can find a video of some scientists that have created the purest black that we can find. Let's see, pure black. All right, so here's the darkest material on Earth. Okay, yeah, it's called Vanta Black, right? This is something that we have recently created on this planet, right? Like Vanta Black, right? It's so dark, right? It absorbs 99.9% of light in it. So it doesn't even reflect anything, right? It just absorbs light. It's so gnarly. So that's it versus Vanta Black, which is it just looks like a black hole, right? And to think about how long it took us just to get let's see if I can I don't think they have it. But there was this science experiment where they showed the process of creating it, and like the guy would put his hand in it, it would just look like just like a sliced off, like it was just gnarly. So there are a lot of there's a lot of things when it comes to color that affect how we see it. Right? So then we talk about hue, which is the red, blue, and yellow, right? Are all of these right here, the hue changes, right? So it goes from red to yellow to green to blue to indigo to violet to magenta, right? And then as the value of it goes up, it gets brighter, right? Up this way is our value, through this way is our hue, right? And then we've got saturation, and this is where they kind of all converge. All right, so our basics, as usual: red, blue, green, or red, blue, and yellow, right? And whenever I say RBG, you're usually referring to the RGB scale, right? That is the basics for whatever computer software you're using. Computer software usually talks more in RGB terms, or CMYK, or halftone, or Pantone, or whatever the color scale they're using is. Right? But when it comes to primary colors, you're talking red, yellow, red, blue, and yellow. Right? And these are the colors that you mix to get all of the colors, and in between. And this cube kind of just shows you how when they start stepping into each other, you get the different variations that you're going to get from these colors mixing. So you get your little teals and your blue greens and your red yellows and then your orange, and so you're getting a mix of all of these just from your primary colors. So now let's talk about color harmonies. So when we talk about harmonies, right, we're talking about complementary colors. Some of them are opposite colors on the wheel, so you're talking blue and orange. And then there's analogous colors, which is colors next to each other. So blue, blue, green, like I just showed you on the previous chart. Then we've got triadic colors, which is three colors evenly spaced, so red, yellow, blue, which is like those are the it's like you can make a triangle on the color wheel, and it'll give you kind of a triad of colors that you can use. Then you've got even more interesting ones like split complementary and tetradic coloring, which is advanced, more harmony systems that if you think of like the Lion King cover, kind of has that going on, where you've got like some yellows, or think about like the Lion King, the sunset scene, right, where you've got some yellows, and then you've got that African, like that purple highlight that goes on in between it, that gives it that little bit of pop, right? That's what I'm talking about when you got split complementary, right? There's one color that like just kind of pops out at you, and that's when you can see that these color theories are being used. So there's harmony in different types of color and how they relate to each other, right? They may relate to each other because they're next to each other and they go along that way, or they can be opposite, right? When you say opposites attract, it's a true thing. So there's different types of theories that you can use whenever you're painting, whenever you're sculpting, whenever you're designing stuff. Is like, okay, I have this all blue character. What would be kind of like an opposite, or a color that would be, or an analogous color that I could use for? You go, maybe green, right? Maybe think about like Captain America. His distinct colors are red, white, blue, right? These colors complement each other. They make you feel a certain type of way. They look a certain type of way. You get a certain emotion from when you see these kind of colors. When you think of maybe Darth Vader's aura, what color would you think Darth Vader's aura would be? I'm guessing most people would say, depending on if we're saying, is he Anakin? Is he Darth Vader? Is he Darth Vader mask off, where he's, it could be blue, the pale blue, right, of his OG lightsaber, or when he becomes Darth Vader, that bright red, that anger that you feel, you can even almost picture it, right? And then as later on, he may be white, and maybe yellow, right? So color can do so much for how we perceive things, the world, aura, style, mood. It does just so much for us. And understanding how color works, how we relate to it, how we can put it together and separate them really does impact our design. So here's some kind of cool examples, right? When we talk about complementary colors, right? These right here on the color wheel, they complement each other. The blue and the orange, right? You can see that because of that the blue in the background, that orange smacks you in the face, that Mad Max Fury smacks you in the face. And you can see that just looking from the top to the bottom, right? When we look at the Tom Hardy, Charlize Theron, Mad Max, all of this right here pops. And then as you go down further into the graphic, you can see that as you go down further into the graphic, because the yellow and they kind of blend in. So you don't look at Fury Road as much, but when you see Mad Max, it pops out at you, it jumps out at you, almost wants to smack you in the face, right? With how poppy it is, right? That's a scientific term, poppy, very scientific. So even when you see this still image of it, right, you can see the blues and the oranges and how they complement each other. The sky, calm, chill, and on the ground, orange, violent, angry, right? You can definitely see those feelings, those emotions from just even the color palette, the way that they're blending together and they're working with each other, right? And then Drake's Uncharted, right? You can see where the oranges and the blues. And even whenever I do some of my stuff, I'll usually use like an orange and a blue light or red and blue when I do my 3D lighting, right? I taught a class last semester, sculpting 2 in ZBrush, and when I did the lighting portion of the class, that was one of the colors that I use, blue and red or red and blue, to kind of, or red and yellow, blue and yellow, to kind of complement each other, to show that you can have these two, what feels, right, like a very cool color and a very warm color, right? They're supposed to clash, but instead they almost kind of give you this, one acts almost like a shadow, one almost acts like a light, and they work in this symbiosis with each other. So you can see that even in this, right? This one it's almost like splitting the image. This Drake's Uncharted, A Thief's End, this cover art for it. You can almost see where the warm color is, like I said before, it's the violent, it's where the action is happening, right? You can even see when his body movement, the way his pose is, right? There's action happening. But on this side, it's calm, right? And you can even the way that whoever drew it, right? They're using the way his toes are pointing, his arm is pointing, his head, everything kind of directs everything. You look at the flow of the drawing, right? You can see that we've got this kind of this curve, this line of action, right? He's coming towards us. His back is bowed a little bit. There's light, right? There's orange light shining here behind him, the orange explosion. I don't know if this is a figure or something, but it's giving you that action, that mood. And then on the other side, you get this cool, calm, like it's the opposite of the picture, the style that gives us that interest, that gives us that visual appeal. And then they use it to do something very interesting here, right? This is like a sunset, dawn kind of shot, sunsetty versus dawn. It could be what would they call it? It's a happy hour. It's not the golden hour. The golden hour is in the morning. It's like sunset, right? And they're using it to kind of give like this calm, like, hey, this is a chill moment, right? The oranges off the bike are playing off the blue of the clouds, and you're getting the reflections going on here. You're getting a lot of warmth coming from right on this side, and you've got a lot of cool on the other side. You can see on his arm, his face, their faces, they turn around like the sun is shining down on them. They've completed something, and you've got this other side of the purples and the blues that are just giving you that sense of calm as well. So they're using it a little differently here, almost like a mission accomplished, almost like the day is over, right? Everything's chill now, so it's now sunsetty, right? Still the same colors, just a different mood. This one and this one, two different franchises, two different, IPs, same mood using the same color palette, right? So you can see how much color can really start to affect how we look at those kind of things. So now let's talk about analogous colors. And the best example for that is the analogous colors that happen inside of Zelda the Breath of the Wild. Really big fan of the Zelda series, really a big fan of the games. I just never got through this one. I still have it on my Switch. I think I played for the first level, and I ended up just roaming around, just like checking out the environment, checking out the lush greens that are happening there, the blues, how it was very open-ended, open world, and I'm just roaming around. Everything feels so alive and lived in, and everywhere I went, it just felt very, very together, very, very unified. It was a very cohesive, very detailed game, right? I didn't even get past, I think I was on this underwater part where, not underwater, this cave where I would have to use my staff to pull the bricks together and jump. I was like, all right, man, I'm getting too old for this. But just the set design, the way that you can fly from and traverse these vast open worlds, super cool, super beautiful. So they're using a lot of analogous colors, right? Colors that go well together. I talked about the blues and the greens before, right? The sky and the grass, right? It just feels like it belongs. It feels like a sunny day, a good day. Something good's gonna happen, right? Like adventure waits. Is the kind of mood I get from blue open sky, green grass fields, and these are the kind of things that are happening when you're looking at a lot of these images. Is just look at the grass. You can see grass here, grass, greens, blues, greens, blues, a little bit of warmth in the lettering and the text, right? Just looking at this, just how vast and open this world, right? This is super inviting, right? Imagine if all of this was in red and orange, and it wouldn't be it'd be like, oh man, we're about to get into something, it just automatically invokes that mood. It automatically invokes that something ominous is about to happen whenever you're looking at just the right coloring, right? When you're looking at the right temperature, the right tone, when art is striking that note for you, you're on the right path, right? So now let's talk about triadic colors, right? So best example that you'll find of that is Spider-Man Into the Verse, right? They use it very well. Super pop arty, kind of like Andy Warhol-esque, very, super pop, super relevant, super new, super comic, very comic book style, right? Like any comic book cover you probably find is probably a triadic color scheme, just because they wanted to pop, and probably because of the limitations that we used to have in printers back in the day with CMYK. But you had to make sure your colors were gonna pop, and I have a bunch of my own comics here. Yes, I'm a dork who has comics in sleeves. Yes, I am a dork who has comics in sleeves. But that's not the point. Let me see. So if you look at some of the covers, right? Tricolors, it pops, probably easier to print, right? Easier to manufacture. You're probably saving money on ink and things like that. So the art probably originated out of necessity, right? It probably originated out of necessity, but lasted and lived long after we did it because we really did enjoy the style, right? We really do enjoy that kind of style of it. So, think about I have all sorts of comic books. I have different styles, right? And they all have these kind of triadic color schemes to them. right? Very poppy, very like if I held it back here, you can tell me what colors that are happening, right? You can almost color pick it: yellow, black, pink, right? That's it. So they're using these colors for pop, for you know, probably out of necessity at first, but you really get that feel from it, right? So you really start to get that feel. This is the Seven Guys of Justice. This is a pretty good comic book. So, it's one of those things, man. Like, when you start getting color correct, when you start getting the color right, it'll start to just make your artwork look so much better. So, whenever I start the color process, right, I'll say, all right, this is supposed to be dark. What's the mood? And then I might make a color palette. I might make a couple of different color palettes, right? And then use those color palettes to kind of inform my coloring my coloring design, right? And there's different sites that even will help you make a color palette, where you can probably insert the image and then it'll get the color palettes for you. But the easiest way to do this yourself, right? Grab the image, copy, paste it inside of Photoshop, then use the color picker to grab the colors that you want to use, make yourself a little palette, and then use that palette in your own, right? And this is the best way to kind of practice a lot of this for yourself, right? Now let's talk about split complementary. Now when I talk about split complementary design, I'm talking about split complementary in the terms of you can see how it's almost like one color and then boom, one color of pop, right? Like the oranges and the tans and the yellows, they're all in the same family, right? In the same family, and then there's like almost like an outsider. It's almost like Scar, right? Like it's almost like, oh, it's Timon, Pumbaa, Mufasa, Simba, and then the purples and the darks of Scar that kind of accent it, and because of that, you get that pop, you get that separation, right? It's almost like they're using the purple in this instance to denote the harsher, the more sinister side, and we're using the oranges and the yellows to signify the good sides. All right. So then we talk about the tetradic, which is usually the Overwatch characters, the splash art. Marvel has its own. So like these are, when you look at these images, right, you can see it's almost like red, blue, yellow, right? And then offshoots of that, red, blue, and then hints of yellow, right? And they do this, right? They do this for a few different reasons, right? It's good when you have conflict, right? It's good for conflict because you can see on one side, we've got the reds, we've got the blues, right? And they're against each other. And then we'll have like almost like a highlight color to help it. So these are a lot of the different ways in which the colors and anybody else here? These are the ways that the colors are used to help inform our artwork, to help us make better decisions, right? To help us invoke a certain mood, right? You can look at these and you can say, oh, okay, there's something big happening here. I don't even know who these characters are on this one. But, you can look at this and go, oh, this guy's got the high ground. This guy's got the low ground. Whoa, what does this, though, there's orange energy coming. He's got this little bit of green highlight pop energy coming from the other side. And what does that mean for our overall fight? Who's got the upper hand, right? These guys look a little more evenly matched, right? This is an even match. This doesn't feel as even. This is an even match right here, right? So it's giving us that really good versus kind of challenge view of our piece, right? So when you use when you use these kind of colors, when you use these kind of paintings and these kind of concepts to enhance your concept art, you will do a lot better. So like I said before, what you do is you start with like the basics. You maybe even find something that inspires you. You bring it in Photoshop, you color the coloring, you color pick the colors in it, and then you use that for your own, right? Your own drawing, but you're using these colors just to practice. And then once you get the hang of it, not the hand of it. Once you get the hang of it, right, you can start to come up with your own. Maybe bring up the color wheel, right? Maybe I can do purple, green, orange. I can do, orange, green, blue, pink, right? I'm just drawing a triangle or a rectangle, right? And that is pretty much it when it comes to coloring, right? The color, and it helps so much, right? It helps so much when it comes to how we feel about the painting. If you're using the wrong mood to light your painting or to paint your concept art, you're gonna run into a lot of trouble because people aren't gonna get the feeling that you want to get out of them, right? You don't want to paint an ice planet red, right? You don't want to paint a desert planet blue, right? You guys get where I'm going with that, right? The color and the psychology behind the color is very important because it informs us, because it informs our eyes, it informs our brain on how to feel about the said painting, said picture that we're looking at, right? When we talk about color and psychology, right? What is color psychology in general, right? According to some research, right, that I did for you guys, I care about you guys. In its simplest terms, color psychology has become a popular area of color theory that assigns emotional and psychological connotations between colors and emotions. Many of these meanings are universal because they have an effect on the brain, but some are only cultural, right? There are some think about the color red. I'm pretty sure universally, like you can probably go to a few places on earth, but red usually means danger, stop, right? Like if I go to another country and I see a red sign, I'm going to be cautious and probably look at it twice. If I see a yellow and black sign, I'll probably look at it twice to be like, all right, in my country, that usually means caution. Something's about to happen. Somebody's crossing. There's children somewhere. There's animals somewhere. There's something crossing. Color informs us. And because we all have this data bank, right? There's almost a shared consciousness of color. We all do have a similar idea of what some of them mean, right? Like we do all do, like when we see red, all right, when we see green, it means you see it on a light, go, right? Like red, stop, green, go. These are just the basics, right? Like I said before, I think that might have something to do with like in our probably in our ancestry, right? This isn't scientific. This is just me being, hypothesizing. It probably has something to do with how we used to, how we saw colors. If you see something red, like if you see like a red fruit or red, something red, it might signify danger, right? Blood, if you're bleeding red, you're hurt. That's not good, right? Like so I feel like some of these things may mean may have to date back to our ancestors. You see green, you probably think life, alive, right? Grass, green, growing, alive. Things can live here, right? You see something brown, dirt, you automatically already have this idea of what it is, what it can be. So color does so much for us, right? Warm colors like red, oranges, yellow usually mean energy, warmth, urgency. Cool colors, blues, greens, they mean calm, sadness, nature. Like I was saying, the greens you thinking life, nature, right? When you think of desaturated colors, you're thinking old, nostalgic, somber, right? Anytime somebody does a flashback, that shit's always desaturated, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, these are the kind of things that, like, when you think about how to use color, how to use value, how to use saturation, it helps so much with creating the art that we create. So, how do colors affect our mood? While perceptions of color are somewhat subjective, some effects have universal meaning. Colors in the red area of the spectrum can be yellow based, such as scarlet and red orange, are known as warm colors as well. These warm colors evoke emotions ranging from feelings of comfort and warmth to feelings of hostility and anger. Red can also have an undertone of blue and are known as cool colors such as burgundy, ruby, raspberry, and deep cherry. These colors are often described as calm, but can also call to mind seriousness, dignity, right? So these are almost like the universal ideas of our colors. And sometimes you want to play around with that. Sometimes you want to play around with how you use color. Like in this, think about it in this way. The first idea that came to mind, right? You want to show a royal family, but the royal family is super corrupt, right? And as the movie goes on, the purple clothes that they wear get darker, right? It might start off as bright purple when the family or the royalty family or whatever is really good. And as the movie progresses and they do more Game of Thronesy types, Lannister family things, the purple gets deeper and deeper till it's almost unrecognizable from black, right? You can see how carrying that purple through the movie or through the show or comic book or whatever could show an emotion of how this once royal family can now have fallen asunder or gone to the black or the evil ways or something like that. So color can do a lot, man. It's such a creative process whenever you do when you start coloring. It's usually one of the afterthoughts, right? Just because you're dealing with line work, value, black and white, grayscale, that coloring almost feels like an afterthought. But I promise you, I know a few colorists, and these guys, man, they are worth every penny that they earn in kind, man. I know some amazing color artists. Like I know some amazing. I'm gonna pull up one of my good buddies, co-workers. This guy, man, is when he I'm just gonna pull it up. And he does a lot of really, really cool paintings and stuff like that too. He's really good with understanding colors. When I was working at Picture Plane, a finishing house, which is we do covers for games, toys, and different things like that. I think they did it. They probably do like movie posters too and stuff like that. But he was the color guy on staff. So like everybody would get all their work together. We'd get our 2D, 3D, everything. Like it would go through the 2D department, which is on my buddy's Andy. He would do the line work. It would come to me for the 3D that's supposed to go over it, and then we go back and forth, refine, and then we send it off to the color guy, which is usually this guy right here, Chris, and the color stuff that he did. Like even you can look at some of his some commissions, and they're really, really good. He has a really good eye for color. He has a really good eye for portraiture, and like his values are really good, man. It's really good stuff. Let's see. And he has like some little cards that he does, and he does a lot of these like rock and roll, like this is like his part-time stuff that he does, which is like rock and roll inspired artwork and stuff like that. And man, he does a really good job with it too. So let's see. So yeah, he does such good stuff. Just wow. Like look at all the look at the values, the transitioning. It's and a lot of the let me see, is this color pencil? Cause man. So like you can see how when somebody understands color and how to use it, it can really start to bring your work to life. And he does a bunch of these. They're really, really good. So color definitely changes the mood. Red could mean excitement. Orange can be confident, successful, or brave. Yellow can be creative, happy, warm, cheery. Green can be nature, healing, freshness, quality. Blue can mean trust, peace, loyalty, competence. Pink can be compassionate, sincerity, sophistication, maybe even sweet, even. Purple could be royalty, luxurious, spiritual, and ambitious. Brown could be dependable, rugged, trustworthy, and simple. Black could be formal, highly formal, dramatic, sophisticated, and secure. And white could be clean, very simple, innocent, honest. And these are just the basics that we will get. Just a lot of these are almost subconscious to us, right? So here's a case study for how color and psychology works. Right, when you look at the neon orange haze of Blade Runner 2049, you can see it's almost like you're breathing in the air of how dystopian and how grungy this place is. Like I feel like if I was here, I'd need to wear like a gas mask constantly, just because the smog and the air must be just rancid with particulates and carcinogens. Like you just feel that from looking at all of these shots. You're just like, man, this looks crazy. I'm pretty sure this is just Sydney, Australia right now. Like this is very well done. The orange, it looks like the dust settles. Like I feel like if I walk outside and walk back in, I'm covered in like orange dust and I'm brown from head to toe. I already am brown from head to toe, but you get the point. And then you can just looking at this other one where you've got that pop of that orange. I mean the purples, the blues, right? This is really, really, really expert color design, color theory, right? Another one is Frozen. When you think about Frozen and the icy blue of Elsa, right? We're in the Elsa phase in my household right now, so very, very interesting, fun movie. I think I've seen it 150 times now, right? In every kind of form, there probably can see it. It's on ice. There's puppets. There's Wii versions. There's me versions. There's all sorts of versions of Frozen. But yeah, I digress. So, and I try to put kind of like an opposite just to show you guys how that color theory is kind of working there. So when you think about Frozen, everything feels isolated, desolate, right? You can see you almost feel the loneliness, right? Everything's clean and pristine, but it just feels so alone. You're isolated by this blue, right? And punctuating it is this purple character standing against this vast, open, isolated pureness of Elsa's world of blue ice and cold, and it just feels very, very, very much like the blue, and the tone that it's trying to set for us is loneliness. Like this character is lonely. She doesn't have anybody around, right, except for this one person who cares about her, that seems to, no matter what, just keep coming back for Elsa, keep coming back, trying to help, trying to build that relationship, right? And that's why when you see, I want to say her name is Anna. I don't know. My daughter would kill me if she knew I didn't know her name. But yeah, this character here, whenever she's in her shots or in her mood, she's happy, bubbly, green, lush things around her. Even her her clothing is usually like green and vibrant and like nature and fresh, right? Whereas Elsa's this ice princess, cold, pulled back, right? Always trying to run and hide behind something, even though she's super, like when you think about like the tier of hero or character she is, like her, she's pretty strong. Like if you put her on like a Marvel video game or something, like she would kill. Like she'd destroy some shit. Like you put her on Street Fighter, I'm pretty sure she's like Sub-Zero. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like she's female Sub-Zero out here. But you can tell that she's isolated in this castle. She's making herself this ice castle that she's isolating herself in, and the blues really push that. The cold really pushes that, right? You can see these long, wide shots of open, just cold snow, frozenness, and it is well done, right? Well, these guys know what they're doing, right? All right. Think about Inside Out, right? When you think about Inside Out, each of the emotions, they're tied to a distinctive color palette, right? And all of these color palettes can mean different things, right? So you've got anxiety, envy, and like they all have their own characters and personalities, and it's all shown through their color as well, right? Like, oh, guess what color anger is? It's not white, right? It's red. It's angry. It's, sadness is blue. Envy is this kind of lighter blue. Embarrassment is this pink and shy. Like the character design shows it. The color shows it, right? So this is what I'm talking about when these guys design things with their color in mind as well, right? So the process is decide on the mood, right? Like when you're trying to do the mood painting, right, that you guys are going to be assigned, just like a simple mood painting, right? Decide on the emotions or mood, build a fitting color palette, which we talked about, then to control the value hierarchy, the lightness and the darkness, and use some accent colors strategically to get things to pop. The next class, we're going to do a demonstration of this, and that's gonna be fun to do, and then we will go ahead with that. All right, so that's pretty much it. So let me show you this guy. This guy is really good. This is his process. So you start with your line work, get some values in here. You get your kind of key image, right? You get your key image locked down, which is these grayscale values, right? Using the silhouette, strong silhouette, right? Obviously, if you see in the process, came up with a few different ideas of what he wanted to do. He had he has the rule of thirds going on here, right? Which is how your image is placed on the screen, the composition. He's thinking about his composition thoroughly here, right? When I say the rule of thirds, right? He split his screen or his canvas into thirds, and he's using that to determine, right, wherever you have these converging lines, the idea is that's where your eyes are usually going to fall. So you want to put things of interest there. So whenever you're designing something, whenever you're doing a painting, a drawing, a sculpting, and you do the rule of thirds, you will put like an image of the rule of thirds on there, and it'll show you generally where the eyes of your viewer are going to flow to, and it'll help you balance your painting, your concept, whatever it is. It'll help you balance it out a little bit better. So when you use rule of thirds in this image, right, you can tell that your eye is going to go right here to wherever this mountain peak is, right? That's in your kind of your background a little bit. And then your second right here, your eye is going to go here, and then here, and then here. So there's nothing here, which is fine. So he's got detail, less detail, then rest, right? Your eyes can rest. If my eye goes here, it'll rest a little bit. So now that I did this exercise, if I look here, the first thing I do notice is this little mountain peak. Then I go down here a little bit. Then I follow this path. Then I go back up, and my eye kind of circles this painting. My eye kind of circles and looks around, so my eye isn't stuck in one place. And this is good composition, right? This is good composition because he's testing it, right? He's probably flipping the image a couple of times over, making sure that when it looks right on this angle, it may look better in the other angle. Flipping back and forth to see what it looks like, and then you add some foreground elements to frame your image, right? And as you can see, as he dives in deeper and he adds color, tone, emotion, it kind of builds this hidden jungle, right? There could be danger here. It's warm, it's inviting, right? We've got this kind of dark border, this kind of lush green path, right? That's leading us to this castle in the middle of this moat in the middle of nowhere, right? The road less traveled almost. So it's inviting you, right? The framing of everything, it's inviting you. It's like, oh look, it's green out here, bro. You want to go in? You want to take a walk with your buddy or your horse? You want to, journey into this unknown. They've got waterfalls. They've got birds. What's happening here? I guarantee you, when you get there, zombies. Zombies are there. I don't know why I feel like it, but at the end of this drawing, I feel like there's zombies here, right? So this is the emotion that this guy's kind of giving me right now. Like, it's almost like this lost paradise, right? Like this hidden, and that's what good kind of digital art does. It gives you information and lets your mind kind of fill in the rest, right? You want to almost walk them there and then let them do a lot of the rest of the filling in of the information, right? You give them a little, but because here's what a lot of concept, like professional, like what they tell me is you're trying to give the audience enough so that they can eat themselves. So like what that means is you want to kind of walk them to the water, but you're gonna, hey, here's some water for you to drink, and then they drink it themselves, and they start to look around and they start to interpret themselves, and they start to put things together, and they're imagining things, right? Because that's the journey that you want to take your viewers on, is have them start to put their stories into whatever you're designing, right? Have them be like, ooh, is this some sort of Mayan temple, some hidden jungle, some lost Arthurian castle, right? Like, you give them a little bit and let them kind of run with the rest. All right. So paint a city street, use warm sunset, then make a cool stormy version. Compare how the palettes change the story and the mood, right? So you're doing two line sketches, one warm, one cool, just so you guys can see how they are, how they relate to each other, right? How does one feel versus the other, right? You want to just do a test, right? You can do it with character, you can do it with the city street, you can do it with, pretty much anything. Just find something and you can use that to make yourself this mood change piece right here. It shouldn't be a very big image, right? Something small, almost like a thumbnail, and then you can use that to kind of see, okay, if I want to do something warm and then warm feeling, I can do something like that. If I can do something cool, stormy, dark, just try those two. Next class we'll walk you through. I want to see what you guys can come up with, and we will go from there, right? So the key takeaway that I want you guys to kind of have from this color theory lecture is that color tells a story. You want to use it with purpose, right? Color is very, very important. That bad color will ruin a painting. Bad color can ruin really, really good line art, right? You can be the best line artist on the planet, but if your coloring sucks, it's gonna be hard to get over. It's hard to get over really bad color interpretation, color. Like I was saying before, like the analogy is, I wouldn't want to paint the Arctic or the tundra red. Like you don't want to paint the Sahara Desert green, right? So unless you're saying the Sahara Desert is coming back into, like that's a different story than, hey, it doesn't feel like the Sahara Desert. It doesn't feel, I wouldn't paint the Okavango, purple or blue, right? Like I would paint it green. The Amazon, right? Would the Amazon be a red hue, right? If you think about the Amazon jungle, what colors come to mind? Browns, green, earth tones. When you think about the North Pole, think about Superman's fortress. What colors come to mind? Is it red and green? No, it's blues and light blues and maybe some whites, right? So these things matter, right? Color matters. It tells a story. It tells us, it informs us about mood, how we think about the painting, how we feel about the painting, right? It's hard for black and white values to do that. And in certain situations, black and white values can inform us a lot of times as to what's going on in a painting. But what really does bring it all home for us is when you add a little bit of color, right? Or when you take away color, right? There's something to when storytellers add a bunch of color and then they take away a certain color. So like think about like everything's color, but there's one character in black and white or something. Like those kind of things pop to you, right? And the reverse of that. But to break the rules, right? You guys know that. To break the rules, you got to understand the rules. So these are the rules. These the rules, right? Learn the rules, and then you are free to break them, right? Understand it, practice it, so that when you use it, you're using it with more informed perspective in mind. All right. So this is the lecture for color theory. I truly appreciate you guys stopping by. I appreciate you guys watching the class. I appreciate you guys doing your homework, the assignments, the quizzes. Once again, post your artwork in the chat, and I will be giving you guys some critiques. All right. It's your boy Time. This is Concept Art 2. I will see you guys next class.